Going to call to order the May 13th meeting of the Conestoga Valley Board of School Directors. I'd like to welcome everyone that's here, as well as those who join us online. Will you please join me in the pledge to the flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Martin, may we have attendance, please?
We have all school directors present tonight.
I'd like to add that the Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Jill Kozer, is sitting in for our superintendent this evening, and in attendance are also the administrative cabinet. Our agenda, as usual, is posted online. I do need to let those people who are used to accessing our agenda online that you can't. It's not your fault. It's not the district's fault. It's the company that does board docs. They're completely mixed up today. Things come and go. But as soon as they're back online, if you want to check the agenda, you can. This is our first meeting of the month. It is the meeting at which we take most presentations and occasionally take votes on things that are to be deliberated in the future, or some action voting items required on timely issues to meet time restraint guidelines. Usually the agenda is usually posted online along with our board notes and will be as soon as possible.
It is up now. It has been up for an hour.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
It wasn't on an hour ago when I tried to get on and things would disappear. They'd be there and then they'd go away. And I think I just spoke to our tech person and he's not able to get it either.
Oh, it's,
Are you able to?
yes, and I was having it, I'm the one who called them
Yeah.
because I was having such a hard time.
Yeah, well, they had already notified Marilyn earlier in the day to let her know that it was messed up. And then when I had a problem coming and going, I got in touch, so. We think it might be up and running, but we're not making any promises right now. It's not?
It's been intermittent all day. So
Yeah, yeah, we make no promises except that it will eventually get put back up there. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, there's a couple of changes. Item J, in action discussion, we have an updated GEC quote that was just updated and added today.
Could we have that amount for those who can't get on? Oh, I have it. It's okay, $37,790.11 for those who keep track of those. Go ahead, what else?
And since posted, today we removed the item M from action discussion. The agenda review and approval of policy 123 was removed. And in the second public comment section, there was a name listed in error, and I'm not sure if that had to do with the board docs weird thing today too. It might have been related to that.
Okay. Anyone else have any additions or changes to the agenda? I actually haven't think we've ever had that many. Then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? If not, the agenda is approved. We'll start with Dr. Koser sharing superintendent's comments.
Okay, good evening. We have 3 staff members that we would like to introduce this evening. I'm going to start with Theodora Teddy Bevan Zanellis. Teddy, there she is. All right, Teddy is joining our team at the Conestoga Valley High School as one of our math teachers starting next school year. She's graduating from Millersville University this spring with a Bachelor's of Science in Education for Mathematics. During her time at Millersville, she was named to the Dean's List 7 out of 7 semesters. That's awesome. And she served as a student teacher at GHMS here in Conestoga Valley. Teddy's experiences working with students expand beyond the secondary mathematics classroom into volunteer opportunities at her church and within the community. So please join me in welcoming Teddy to the Conestoga Valley faculty. We have another high school teacher with us, Anna Haldeman. Anna, there she is. Anna will be joining the Business Education Department at CVHS this coming school year. She's also a graduate of Millersville University with a degree in Social Studies Education. She's looking to begin her MBA program in the near future as well. Anna is a Conestoga Valley graduate, so we're happy to welcome her home, and she recently finished up a long-term sub position at Pequea Valley High School. Welcome back to CV, Anna. And our third staff member you will probably recognize, Mr. Carlos Dye. We are excited to introduce Carlos to you in a different role. Currently, Carlos serves with SOSL, and as of July 1, will be coming on board the CV team as our new Assistant Director of Operations. So Carlos has been in the district since 2019 and just comes with rave reviews and accolades from all of us who get the pleasure of working with him. So welcome, Carlos. And that is all this evening.
Is that it? Okay. Are there any board comments on district activity? I'd like to bring up the fact that this is Teacher Appreciation Week. Tuesday was Teacher Appreciation Day. I know some of our PTAs often do things, as those the boards send out, it's commendations to all of our board members, our teachers and staff members for the work that they do.
And last Friday was the high school's choir, band, and orchestra, their big concert.
You got it right.
Yeah. And was it Friday? Thursday?
Thursday.
I can't remember what day it is.
Next week.
It's Wednesday
Monday.
for me. So anyway, it was a fantastic concert. The kids did
They
a great job.
always are. They always are.
And the last one they did was this big Italian piece, which was excellent. It was just cool.
Very good. They should tape these for us.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, would be helpful.
This is a point in our agenda where we take comments from the public on any items on our agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak? If not, we'll move right on to our action discussion items. First is approval of the superintendent's report. Any comments to be made there? Any questions on that report? Then Mrs. Drager, you're up.
Wait, don't you need to?
We need to approve
You need to do
the
a-
superintendent's
sorry,
report.
yes. Well, no, you can come on up, we're just gonna vote. Have a motion to approve the superintendent.
Motion to approve the superintendent's report.
Second.
Can we have a roll call, please?
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Fisher?
Aye.
Mr. Hurst?
Aye.
Mrs. Kapta? Aye. Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Mr. Gensel?
Aye.
Mr. Eby?
Aye.
Ms. Trowbridge?
Aye.
Mrs. Grahal?
Aye. I think that becomes a 9-0, so that is passed. Now, Mrs. Strayer, it's all yours, or both of yours.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and allowing me to give an update on our food service this year. And the pictures that you're seeing up there, again, I'm proud of is our cooking club. The left and the right, and the one in the middle is for our National School Breakfast Program. And that's done by Bonnie Eberly, who is our fantastic salsa cafeteria manager at Smoketown, but unfortunately, she will be retiring at the end of this school year, at least from food service. And on the right is Mr. Tim Ardinger. He's our catering manager, and unfortunately, he will also be retiring. So some changes are coming this school year for food service. Thank you. Okay, the first slide here is our annual served breakfast, and I kept a fairly good amount of years on here, so you can pretty much see where we stood 17, 18, 19, and then before COVID, then once COVID hit, and now that COVID's over, 22, 23 was our first year going back to free breakfast. So you can see the difference from 195,000, we kind of dropped the first year we were back to 158,000. But as of this year, you can see now we're climbing again to 198,000. And as far as I know, that is going to continue for at least the next year and possibly a few years after. There'll be free breakfast. And also any status that is a reduced student will also be a free student. Next slide is our served lunches. Again, same slide here. And as you can see again, before and then COVID, and then unfortunately we were up to 459,000 during COVID. It was great. Then unfortunately the first year, last year was 22, 23. It was back to our status of paid, free, and reduced, where we dropped. And now again, you can see 23, 24, we've climbed a little bit from the previous year. So we're kind of inching back up there. And I know there is legislation out there, School Nutrition Association is trying hard to get an annual, or should say a universal free lunch. But according to Congress, unfortunately, there just isn't money in the budget, but we're still fighting for it. So we're hoping sometime that'll come through. And then the next slide is just kind of a slide here that's been here for a few years. Again, it's just telling you that a student, cannot be denied a meal, whether they have, money in their account or not. And if a student has a meal, naturally, you can't take the meal from them. That type of thing there, so that's kind of just going over those kinds of things. Next slide is our meal charge totals. Unfortunately, their negative balance is fairly high, and as you can see, we have broken it down there per building. I know there's a HR 7639 representative, Ian Omar, is introducing what's called a National Advisory Council on unpaid school meal debt. So they're actually going to try and devise a council to get together with 14 members, and that's going to include food service directors and employees to try and see if they can't come up with some kind of procedures, policies, something that we can do to help eliminate the school lunch debt.
Can I ask you one question here? If they pass the free lunches, would that help this?
Definitely, right. Yeah, everyone would be free.
So even if
There'd
they
be no
don't do the
paid.
one, if they do the other, this could be addressed.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. And then again, the collection of unpaid school meal charges. It simply states that, in other words, we do try and get the money back as quick as we can. The managers will do like a weekly letter, and then we also do like a monthly letter. And also Katie from PR is wonderful, and she puts out robocalls, emails. So we're constantly trying to do that. Jeannie Glick, thank you to her. She's been trying very hard to get at least the seniors. So there's not a problem there. So she's been trying to get the senior debt collected. So we've gotten a little bit farther with that. But you can have a year to collect the debt. And then other than that, then it's considered bad debt. And once it's bad debt, it has to be put back into the food service with some type of non-federal source funds. So it either looks like at our a la carte sales that we have, or else unfortunately general fund, which there's never enough money in the general fund. So Okay. And the other thing for the bad debt too is there's different organizations, the community's been fantastic, and they have also given us donation, and we just also had another from the Giant Food Company of $4,384.01 donation from community coming in, upgrading their totals. So that's wonderful, so that helps there. So gift and donations can help pay the bad debt there. And then I always like to put in a comparison of our lunch, paid lunch prices compared to where we are. I mean, we're not the lowest, but then again, we're not the highest. So we're pretty much in sync with all the other districts, other than Hempfield, I believe, has gone CEP, which is the next slide. And I'm not sure exactly when they started. I don't think they were at the beginning of the school year, but that's called community eligibility provision, where they actually will take your identified student percentage, and that's just, it's more or less, it's not the students that are considered free by meal benefit application, it's the ones that could be on your SNAP, TANF, migrant, foster. They're the ones that they look at in order to do this procedure here. And they now lowered the least provided from a 40% to a 25%. But unfortunately, when they did that, they didn't increase the multiplier to make it increase that we get a bigger reimbursement. So, and as you can see, for a district to be on that, you need at least a 62.5% in order just to break even for the reimbursement that we're getting. Okay. This is where CB stands at the present moment, and these figures were actually taken from March. So district-wide, you can see we actually climbed from the previous year, we're all but 48%. But figuring on the CEP tool that PDE has, taking account your reimbursement, plus then you have to add in your paid students, figuring that at the 48%, unfortunately, if we would do this district-wide, we would lose $61,000 a month without reimbursement. So it's something, every year to keep looking at. We're climbing, hopefully we'll get there, or hopefully they'll do the universal free lunch beforehand. And the next slide here is,
It's sort of hard to say, we hope that number goes up.
I'm sorry?
It's sort of hard to say, we hope that number will go up.
Right. Then the next slide is our middle school cooking club, our sixth grade cooking club. We do it 3 sessions in for the red, blue, gold group. They made biscuits and muffins. They have the vegetarian chili. And then they also made a textured valley, a vegetable protein, like a meat. There was the pasta and meat sauce. And there was, like I said, 3 different sessions. And we actually had an overwhelming response. So this year we actually had a 4th session, and we started with more. Then the next slide there, we have like 3. We started, I think, with 6. But between one thing or another, some of the students couldn't come to the last one, so. And then this is a picture naturally of our Smoketown cafeteria we're excited to get into. For our renovations, we have our cooking equipment there on the top, and that's a combi oven, and then the bottom left is our serve unit, and then the right is our new dish machine. And then the ongoing challenges, again, it's being short-staffed, knock on wood. It's been fairly great at SOSL this year. They've done really well. We're almost fully staffed, but the big thing is trying to replace cafeteria manager, and hopefully might have a candidate in line for that. But it's going to be very difficult to try and replace Tim for the catering manager, because he kind of had things at will. He did outside, he did inside, so he really never had a set time schedule. So that's going to be difficult to try and replace. Our CAFCO bid opening is this Friday, but we were looking at a possible at least a 7% increase in food costs, and everyone knows everything's going up. And again, it would be parents trying to complete the meal benefit. Again, the accrued lunch debt. They're actually doing some changing now to the current final rule to the meal patterns for 25-26. In 25, they're going to limit added sugars, and that's going to take effect to mainly our breakfast things, our cereals, our yogurt, our milk. And it's difficult now. And then again, we don't really have to change anything, I think, to the 25-26 school year, because, you have to give the manufacturers and the vendors time to rechange their line, upgrade, and do things that we need for the nutritionals. Whole grains are staying the same, and then there are some budgeted items I'm looking at replacing, and then naturally all the upcoming construction projects. Trying to get Smoketown moved in, trying to get Leola moved over, which we're good to go. We're not going to have any problems. we're not gonna have a problem there. And then naturally with Leola coming up as the next challenge. Ken's great, keeps us up to date, keeps us going. And then 24-25 incentives, again, are pretty much same things that we're continually doing throughout the course of the year. Sampling, surveys, marketing the best we can, doing our cooking clubs for teaching, life skills. Premier Edge system, knock on wood, once in a while, we still have some problems. It was new, this was our first year we were on our Premier Edge system, but things are going fairly well with that. Again, speaking to our legislatures, we had our meeting with Mindy Fee, a House representative, and we pretty much told her all our problems, our, lunch debt, trying to get the free lunches, everything there. And then just to communication, continuing with the renovation of the elementary. So my recommendation for this year is no student meal increase for the 24-25 school year due to having a positive fund balance in the nonprofit food service accounts as of June 30th.
All right, and this is where I'll kind of go over quick the food service budget. This is kind of our snapshot of the revenues and expenditures for food service. We'll start with the revenues. For 24-25 budgeted, total projected $2,791,237. Just a couple takeaways from that. Revenues are based off the meal served, so we're kind of projecting that up. The subsidies are difficult to project with the rates not being published yet. And then interest income, it could have some volatility to it, but it's all based off the rate of return there. Then we have the expenses totaling at $2,693,955, and we kind of adjusted those for inflation to kind of include those uptick in the food costs and whatnot. So bringing it to the total net income for $97,282, and the fund balance adding to that net income of $1,628,751. So.
Questions?
Do we want to address the shortage, the 30,000? Thoughts, ideas, just write it off? Go down the same path we've been going down every year? Throwing it out there?
What else can you do? That's the question, right?
Yeah, we work closely with the social workers and we'll give them listing and, they'll try and say, okay, well, for, this person give that much and, maybe this person will pay it off, those kinds of things. So, we do work closely with that, and I know sometimes some of the faculties at different buildings had chipped in and they paid it off, and, right after COVID, we were at zero, we had clean slate.
But you say that we've got a positive fund balance. So where does the 29,600 come in at? That's negative, but yet we have a positive fund balance.
That's from the paid students not paying when they come through, they will get a free meal, and it just keeps going, and it just keeps adding.
But where is our positive fund balance coming from?
So the negative is a part of the accounts payable, and that's more on the balance sheet. So that's more at the top on the balance sheet. This is more of an income statement, which kind of shows your revenues and expenses year after year and kind of the consolidated effect of that.
So although we've got this 29,000 deficit, we're still,
Positive.
Yeah.
but we're still okay.
Mhm.
Okay. How much did we have, and what was the difference last year? Last year when we started, this year?
It was what, 19? Something like
Which I
that?
don't have
Right,
slide.
you mean on that?
Yeah, the one slide got it.
That was,
It's gone up every year.
Last year.
okay.
Yeah, it continues
19
to
to
go.
29.
What is it?
So,
19,000, now it's 29.
so did we ever recoup that 19,000? Or,
Some of it, but no, not all of it.
Yeah.
okay,
And that's another thing we're gonna try and do, now that my assistant has been made, I believe, hopefully will be approved for year round. That's on the top of the list, try and do spreadsheets, and we make calls and we'll see who wants to donate. Because if there's money there, you have to, return it to them, or we'll ask them, okay, do you wanna donate it, or do you want it returned, or what? And some of them, there's quite a few who'll say, oh, just go ahead and donate to the Student in Need Fund. So then we have that there too. But unfortunately, until we can get our things correct, it kind of just keeps adding. So we're hoping to get that taken care of, that it doesn't continue to add.
What kind of communication and when do we have with the parents? Do we do that at the
We-
beginning of the school?
Oh,
year,
we
let
do
them
it,
know
we
what the
do
rules of the road
it
are?
weekly, monthly, and then when it gets closer to the time, Katie will do letters. They do continual, we do emails, we do printed letters at the end of the
Do
month.
they understand all the rules, you know?
Yep, that's all printed in there, welcome back, and it should be on the website. Of the
But saying
procedures we
it's
follow.
on the website doesn't mean they're hearing it or reading it.
Right,
You know, sometimes you have to be more direct.
The 29,000, is that from this year? Like
that's
June?
just, yeah, that's this year, because
So
I
it
took where we
started out at
started at the
zero.
beginning, subtract, right, and got what we are now.
It's probably, I mean, of course, there's probably some of that number is just maybe some parents that are like, whatever. Of
Right.
course, and that's hard because they're also mixed in with the parents, because of course of our, I mean, even our homeless population and stuff. This is an
Right.
absolute need, and it's
Right.
great that these kids get fed, so I don't see another way to do it except through the donation circuit and maybe with an assistant that's calling around to some different, and if is it called the Student Need Fund, is that what they're
That's
calling
what,
it?
yeah.
That's something that's pretty easy to give to, especially with local churches, organizations, say, hey, is this
We've
something you
had,
want
right,
to
we've
commit?
had churches,
And
yes,
make sure
quite a
they know
few.
that if it helps pay it off, it goes right back into providing food for these kids, so.
Right.
Other than doing it that way, I think that's the right way to go about it. Let the community support this and hopefully, I know it seems like, because I get the emails too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we forget, we get notified and we're like, oh crap, we gotta pay that. Because it's easy to forget that stuff,
Right,
especially when you have
right.
lots of kids, it comes up. But it also builds the balance very quickly when you have 4 children, so.
Correct.
I think you're doing, and I commend all those efforts for trying to reach out all those times and making it very, very clear, and it is very clear from beginning of the school year to end. But it is what it is, so, yeah.
Isn't part of the problem sometimes, I mean, as our poverty and homeless populations grow, those people are almost all qualified for free lunches. And I know there are some parents that are loath to sign up. Do you find that to still be true? People that qualify can't end up not being able to afford and don't realize how confidential it is
Right.
to get free lunches.
And then there's some that might come from a district that was free, and then they don't realize and they just think it's free. But when they get that letter, I don't know, if they don't ignore, they don't call, but that's another thing, we're gonna try and be more proactive and get things out, and hopefully now we can even maybe make some phone calls, because when you see on Primero Edge, when it says default, they didn't reapply for, and every parent and guardian must reapply every school year.
School year.
Yeah, if they're on the program, the year before, they get a 30-day grace period.
And
So they'll
sometimes
stay,
they don't
and they-
realize that
right,
it
and they
expired,
don't
and
reapply.
sometimes they
Right.
don't understand that there's no shame attached to this.
Right.
There was a time when it was obvious kids had a hand in the token and everyone knew, and
But now
we
it's,
got rid
it's,
of that long ago.
That's
Right.
electronic.
Nobody
it's
knows
total-
who's paying and who's not.
correct, it's totally different now, and the students come
I don't
through.
know how we get that message out better, because I really feel badly for the people who are trying to pay and really don't have to.
Right.
Well, every year we'll maybe do a little better than the year before.
Try.
Any other questions or concerns? This budget will be approved next week at the, on the consent agenda,
Okay,
okay?
all righty, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
This is Hunting. Because of all this mix-up on the website, I asked Mrs. Martin if she would print back from the April meeting what we started off looking at. So, and as a reminder of where we were, what we decided to go with. I think that might help. And of course, we printed out Mrs. Hunsinger's report. We didn't frame it, but we printed it out.
Okay, well, thank you. You can frame it some other
And
time.
you'll find that summary sort of on there too, but I thought maybe looking back at what we originally were working with might be helpful for everyone, so.
Good.
Do you want to lead us through your recommendations here, because we cannot pass the resolution until we,
Until we have
until we
select a
decide
scenario.
what
Yes.
it is we're supposed to be working with.
So yes, on this first slide here, I'm showing you the important dates, and one of the laws with the public school budgets is we have to have a proposed final budget approved at least 30 days prior to the approval of the final budget. And just the way it fell this year, we need that approval this evening. Now, we can continue to make changes to the budget for next week's meeting or any of the June meetings, but then we do need that final budget approved on June 17th. I didn't change anything with our current year projections at this point. This is just a carryover slide for your information. And then what we landed on last month was to look at scenarios of a millage rate increase of 2.5% and 2.75%. So this is just showing you what the cost is going to be to each of the homeowners. For a 2.75% increase, the cost is $91. 2.5% is $82 for the average homeowner in CV. So then on this slide, I'm just showing you where we were at the last meeting in April, back on April 15th, and what changes we were able to identify between now and today. Under the revenues, I do show that, and this is just me trying to present you with some numbers, I do show the 2.75% millage rate increase, so you can see what that will be. Again, with the equity factor and the basic ed formula, I'm budgeting 50% of the that allocation. Still, I have not heard anything, read anything about the movement of how that budget might end up with the state or what the timing of that will be. And that's, I've said this every year, and we'll continue to say it, that's the frustrating part. We have to make a decision and we don't know what's going to happen with the state budget, and we could get all of this or none of it too. It's very frustrating, but. Under expenditures, I do want to point out two things. We were, and I mentioned this back in April, we're starting to see some decrease in our healthcare rates. So I was able to reduce our healthcare budget by about $170,000. I just got a report this morning and we're staying on target. So we'll see if there's any further reduction in the next month or so. And then two, what I did to help get the budget closer was to have the high school roof restoration project for $600,000 coming out of our capital reserve fund as opposed to our general fund. We've got about $7.5 million in the capital reserve fund. We don't like to use that for ongoing expenditures, but for one-time expenditures, we can use that amount. And it's also a nice reserve since we're in the middle of all these renovation projects too. So here's the scenarios I have for you. Where we're at right now is a $985,000 deficit. And then I have been presenting planned use of our fund balance of $1 million. So that gets us down to a surplus actually of $14,000. If we were to move our millage rate from 2.75% down to 2.5%, we would have to decrease our revenues by $135,000. And that would be the same if we even went down to 2.25%. It's going to be another $135,000, $140,000 reduction. So this puts us right now, if we were to drop down to 2.5% at $120,000 deficit. We still have several weeks of information that we can pull. I have gone through all the revenues again and again and again, trying to squeak out every dollar that I can. So, and same with the expenditures. But I will pause here and see if any of you have any thoughts or questions.
I'll share mine before we talk about exactly which of the two we're going to have. there's been some talk that, gee, it's only a few dollars more.
Mhm.
My concern is that it's cumulative.
Right.
What we raise one year is still there the next year, and it keeps building up. My concern also is that inflation, if you look at just at household expenses, that inflation is huge. And forget the national inflation rates, just look at what people have, and our poverty levels are going up. And sometimes $20 makes a huge difference. And I just feel as if we need to do everything we can to recognize the fact that our taxpayers are being burdened increasingly, and the revenue they have to work with buys them less and less of what they need to spend their money on before school taxes. And that's why I'm supporting, I had wanted the 2.25 as low as we could get it, but I find that the 2.50 is a compromise I could live with. Anything above that, I'm afraid I can't. That's where I stand. Or anyone else would like to weigh in on this?
Can I ask a quick question? As far as so if we prove the 2.5 or the 2.75, and then can we adjust that then up through June or whatever?
Yes.
If you were to get information regarding that other 50% we get it or not, or something like that?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I just want to be absolutely positive that we can do that.
It's not locked in,
That-
it's a
Yeah.
proposed
Right,
budget.
I just wanted to make sure that before I voice my opinion that was correct. My personal opinion is I think I would agree with the debt and go to 2.5 if possible.
That's 2 out of 9, but some effort from the rest of you.
Well,
I know it's hard.
well, I completely see that viewpoint. I also see everything, all the homeowners are suffering, so is the district. We need to pay the teachers, they weren't good teachers, we gotta pay them. We have lunch debt that we have to pay off. So, I know it's taking from Peter to pay Paul kind of stuff, but I mean, I personally think 2.75, cause I don't like relying even on guessing 50% of something that may or may not happen. We might get 0
So you're supporting,
on the 2.75.
okay?
I have a question.
Sure.
On the previous slide, what was the PCCD grant?
That is a state safety grant, and we applied for it, and unfortunately, we were rejected from it, and that's turned down. That particular amount there was the amount that we were budgeting to cover the new safety officer, which we're processing through staffing.
Okay.
But we're keeping the safety director in the budget.
So we had it budgeted as a revenue.
Yeah.
And that's taking it out because we didn't get it.
Yes,
Got it.
good question.
Do millage rates always move in quarter percentages?
No, it can be whatever. It just, that's my accounting mind.
Yeah. Because I wonder as it goes along too, I would tend to lean towards a 2.5. But I also wonder if, depending on how things turn out, if there's even a middle ground that would get us closer to a balanced budget, where even if it was 2.55 at the end or something, where
Yeah.
it's like, because I agree with Idette, I mean, every penny counts, and it's not getting easier. So if there's a way to get us close where we can go over a little bit to break it even, I'm okay with a couple points over.
Okay.
I think, especially if it means we can get even, so that would be my thought. I'd love to see how it pans out.
Well, the thing is, we can always make adjustments, hopefully
Yes.
in our favor, if our revenues go up, then we're sitting much better.
Exactly. I mean, I'd love for them to go
Either
up
way,
enough, we could do 2.25, that would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Well, yeah, that would be great, but it's always next year.
Right.
Meanwhile, if we get less, or the same, we can manage, we can handle it.
Yeah, if we don't receive that $900,000 from the state, I do have a backup plan for that. if we didn't, depending on how much we actually would receive, we might reopen the budget whenever the state passes theirs. And then if we have to reduce our income, then there's some capital projects that Ken's gonna talk about in a few minutes that we could move out of the general fund and pay through the capital reserve. I hesitate to do that because we don't wanna deplete that fund, but we've had a couple strong years where we had gotten some Plan Con monies last year that were totally unexpected. Interest rates soared during the 22-23 year, and we took a lot of that increase to the tune of like $1 million and transferred those funds into the capital reserve. So I just want to be cognizant that we don't pull that down too much, but that would be my solution there. And on the flip side, if we already passed our budget and then we find out, oh, you're going to get the other 50% of that amount, it's too late for our tax bills. But then one thing we could talk about, I really want to think this through more, is maybe we say, okay, of that extra subsidy that we didn't budget for, maybe we have a committed fund balance that says over, like our PSER stabilization fund, that maybe over the next 5 years, we can try to keep our millage rates lower and just pull down on that committed fund balance.
Well, I think you can assure yourself, if we get a lot more, we'll definitely not be planning on doing this again at this rate next year.
Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
But you're right, that's the downside. We can reopen the budget,
Yeah.
but it's too late
It's too
to change
late.
the tax rate.
It's just, yeah, very frustrating.
I listened to a representative talk about, if they pass their budget late, we can reopen it. He doesn't seem to understand the school budgeting system.
Yeah.
If a building gets sold in district, is that something that would go into something like a capital funds reserve?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I've heard from 4 of you.
I'm good with 2.5.
Excuse me?
I'm good with 2.5.
Okay.
I'll support 2.5. That was me.
And
I
Adele,
think that
you're
makes us ready to take a vote.
really ready with 2.5.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I need a motion specifying which
Yes.
version we're accepting here.
Motion to approve 2.5% millage rate increase
As part of.
as part of the budget,
Proposed
Okay.
final.
proposed final budget,
Yes.
that's what I meant to
I
say.
wanted to be one big vote, okay. Could we have a roll call,
So many
please?
words.
Did we have a second?
that,
Oh, wait a
Oh.
second. Actually, we don't need a second, but we'll take it
Oh,
anyway.
really?
Yeah,
Throw a third in there.
a board of this size never needs a second. We do that as a, how can I explain this? If a motion can't get a second, it seems silly to be voting because nobody's willing to ask for the vote. A second doesn't mean you agree with the motion. A second means you agree with taking a vote on the motion. So if nobody will give you a second for the vote, maybe we ought to pull it off altogether. But you're right, we do make a habit of taking a second. Do we have that?
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll take the roll call vote.
Mrs. Fisher.
Aye.
Yes.
Mr. Hurst.
Aye.
Mrs. Capco.
Yes.
Mr. Talley.
Yes.
Mr. Gensel.
Yep.
Mr. Eby.
Yes.
Ms. Trowbridge.
Yes.
Dr. Martin. Aye. Mrs. Groff.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. It's nice to say we all take equal responsibility for this. Once we have passed that, we can then pass the
Posting.
the resolution.
Yes,
Okay, just have to do it in the right order. So I do need a, I'm trying to think if we do all this at one time. Approval, first final budget. Well, that's just for the tax collector, so.
it would be the resolution authorizing proposed final budget display and advertising.
Yeah.
That's separate.
Yes, that's.
And then there's, what Jill
yeah,
has up
on-
right
on
now
my
is the,
copy of the agenda, it's not listed.
Okay,
that way.
okay.
That's what I'm looking for. Where's the what do we call that, the resolution?
yes.
We need a separate vote to approve the resolution.
Mhm.
Now I can't even get a motion.
I keep forgetting what all you say, but I propose that we approve the resolution authorizing proposed final budget display and advertising.
That's great.
I'll take a second before you
Second,
criticize me on that.
I'll give you a
All
third
those in
too.
favor say aye. Opposed or abstentions, say no. If not, that passes. Now we're down to the tax collector, right?
Final budget, just,
Final bu- is there a
final
third
budget
one?
notice. There's
Yeah,
another notice.
Yeah, I don't know why my agenda doesn't show that, because there's always the three.
Mhm.
I need a motion to approve the notice for the proposed final budget.
I move that we accept the final budget notice and vote for it.
And so forth. And a second,
Sure, second.
all those in favor say aye. Opposed or abstentions, if not, that passes. See, you have to be able to say the motion for exactly what it is. Okay. Is that all that you need for the budget part?
For the budget part.
Now the tax.
Now the tax collector resolution. Every year, we ask you to approve this resolution. It appoints Lancaster County Tax Collection Bureau as our real estate tax collector.
You'll notice that in many districts, they vote for a tax collector. And usually, by law, you have to. But what we do is they usually sign a waiver. Say, I'm not gonna do that. So then we have to appoint one. So I need a motion for the tax collector
Motion to approve the tax collector appointment resolution.
and a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions say no. You see, I'm doing less roll call votes. I'm really working on that. School board treasurer. It's a one-year term every May. It may not be a board member because we're a second-class district. We have, over the last several years, used our director of finances is doing that, which is Mrs. Hunsinger. Unless someone has an objection to that, I accept the motion to appoint Mrs. Hunsinger as our treasurer for the next year.
So moved. You said the whole thing.
Do you know
Okay, I make a motion.
So moved, it's not a motion.
I make a motion that we approve Adele for the appointment of school board treasurer for 1 year.
I know it's used a lot and sort of accepted, but technically it's not a motion.
You'd ask her if she wants it, right?
Will you accept the
Absolutely.
nomination?
Absolutely.
That's right. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Well, you have a director of finances that you would stick this with.
Well, he proposed and I seconded it, so we're good.
Okay, I think we can do this with all in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed or abstentions? If not, the motion passes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And hopefully next month we'll have everything on the agenda that's supposed to be there.
Yes. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Adele.
Mr. Johnson,
Good evening.
you have brought us a little more information on the capital projects.
I
These
did,
were approved back in January.
correct.
Okay, this is just an update on.
Just an update on where we're at, and I want to get out in front of the contractors to make sure we have equipment ordered in time and make sure we're on their schedule, especially with lead time on items as it has been somewhat of a challenge at times, but everyone I've spoken to, we're definitely on the leading edge of that right now, so,
We approved these projects.
yes, we did.
But we did not, if I'm right, we did not approve the specific, or did we approve the specific bids?
I had estimated numbers in there, so if you wanna look at these as approving the bids, these are all through a CoStarz program or KPN, so these were allowed to do without having to go through the whole bidding process.
Then there's no reason to
Yeah.
vote. There's no reason, and our approval will be when we pay the bills.
Correct, yes, very much so.
Are there any questions on any of these?
I do, and I'm sorry I didn't send you an
No,
email.
that's quite all right.
Help me out. What's the difference between the roof retrofit
Okay, good.
And the restoration.
Great question. The retrofit, I'll do the simpler one first. The restoration is keeping basically the existing roof intact. All the
Okay.
membrane, all of that. They go through, they reinforce seams, all the flashings. If there's stone on the roof, they remove the stone, and then they put down coatings on top of the roof. So basically, we're gaining additional 10, 15 years life out of a roof instead of having to tear it the whole way down. The retrofit is an area, and we have one literally right straight across here, on the part of the building that was added in like the 04-05 timeframe, connected to two older classroom wings. We found a lot of wet insulation up there.
I saw that.
So you have your metal deck, or it could be a gypsum deck, whatever your roof deck is. And then there's insulation board of varying thicknesses, and then on top of that, your roof membrane. So whether it would have been the roof seam opened up, or some ways moisture got down in there, and look at roof insulation kind of as a sponge. So if it gets in one spot, it kind of wants to creep and just expand its area. So we found an area here that's much larger than we were anticipating, or what we had seen when we put these estimates together last year. So evaluating it and things so that we bid it both ways. If we find it's not near as bad and we don't have to do as much, we'll get a credit back on what we don't. So I took the worst case scenario on that area. So that's the difference between a retrofit and a restoration.
So are they removing?
They will
the top?
remove that area where the roof membrane is, they'll remove the insulation, get all that bad out of there, rebuild it with new. So if this is the roof area of this table, and the bad insulation takes up this portion of it, they'll only remove that portion. So the rest of it basically gets that restoration, but it's that area gets retrofitted. So, and then we get a comprehensive warranty over the entire thing at that
And you
point.
have to do the retrofit before you can do the restoration.
In that case, yes, yep, we need to fix the bad
Before we put that
to
ceiling
put
on top and
everything on top to make it one.
I've been going through the exact same thing in my
Yeah.
place.
Yep, roofing is never ending.
Don't tell me that.
I know, it's,
But it is when we have as many large
Yes.
roofs as we do, many of them
Yeah.
flat.
yep. The majority of the roofs at the high school are all flat roof areas, varying dates, when they were all installed, and there's a multitude of roof areas. There's close to 40 individual roof areas here at the high school.
You should show your map.
I can do that, yeah.
It's really kind of cool, he's got a map that shows when sections were done,
Yep.
what was done, and it's really kind of neat to see how it.
I
And
will,
that's going to be so
Managed.
depressing.
What's that?
That'll be depressing.
Yeah,
no,
see
it's
that.
actually, like at Fritz, the roof areas we're touching now at Fritz, all the remainder of the roof has been restored or replaced at some point in time. The areas we're doing now were done back in 04-05. So we've gotten, close to 20 years out of those roofs, which is great.
Yeah.
Without any major issues in those. So, and again, they're all flat roof areas there at Fritz. There's very little sloped roof with metal on it, so.
Any other questions about these? And I assume you're going to start this as soon as possible?
That's the plan, so I'm
Not
gonna,
this week, it's gonna rain.
no, not this week, no, they have to get materials ordered and that, I wanna get letters out to everybody, just telling them that we're moving forward.
Okay.
So just getting locked in on everyone's schedule, so,
This requires no board action right now.
okay,
Done what we had to do. Thank you.
excellent, thank you very much, and also, thank you for your support and
Anytime.
my assistance.
Yeah.
With my assistant,
That's long
Yes.
overdue.
Yes.
It's long overdue.
so he's a good man, I appreciate having him on board, so.
Thank you. Our next item is policy review. You were shown the 800s before. We will have a first reading next week, so this is your chance if you have any questions or concerns on any of the 800s.
Okay, the first reading next week is
The 800s, yeah.
$800.
And you've also had put on your agenda this year, the 900s to give you plenty of time to read those, and the 900s will follow the next month,
Right,
okay?
okay. And do we, so next week we vote on, it's
First
the
reading
first reading
of the
and we approve?
800s. We will approve a first reading of the 800s next week.
I don't know if she knows what that means.
Yeah,
What
does
first
that
reading
mean
is.
it's final?
No, we have to have a second reading.
That's what I'm
Okay, we'll have
getting
a
at.
second reading the
Thank
next
you.
month,
Thank
okay?
you.
Now, the 900s, again, they're there in advance for you to review.
Mhm.
Please take special attention to policy 903. That is the public input at board meetings. This is as close as PSBA has ever come to giving us any recommendations. And if you look at what they sent us, there are a lot of options where we can pick what we want to do. So, think very carefully of when you want to have it, how long you want to allow it, who's allowed. Some districts require registration beforehand. We've been very open with ours, so give it some thought and then, we'll discuss what the board wants to do. Any questions? You got this. First reading is 800 next month, next week. Final and second reading the month after, and then we start on the 800s. And we're getting near the end of this, folks. So then we have left, I think there's 3 or 4 still left sitting in the 300s, and 100 and 200. Okay, Mr. Spataro.
All right, so this is an agreement that we have here with the IU for them to host and give us access to OnBase, which is a software for storing documents, through electronically. And essentially some of the key benefits that it'll offer for us is just better management of documents. You can assign retention dates to how long you want to keep the documentation instead of us just putting everything in files and then, having to shred them. Better accessibility to the documents, with everything being digital, reducing paper costs. There's even a keyword search you can use on it to help find the documents, and just a more secure filing system. Each individual have their own access, and based on that access, they can access those certain documents, so.
So these documents would be paper today and
Yeah,
the digital?
yeah, that's, yep.
And they'd go right into their own personnel files. And there's no personnel files, that's their personnel file. So the rooms that we have secured and all that, there's square footage that you have available now instead of rooms with files, cabinets in them.
Am I correct that this would be an annual $7,500 fee then every year going forward,
I
correct?
believe so, yeah.
Okay. So this 37 is only for the 6 months and then it's
Yeah.
$7,500 a year afterwards.
I see they provide 200 gigabytes. Do you think, is that enough or are we gonna fill that pretty quick?
We'll see, we got a lot of scanning to do,
Right.
Yeah,
it's a heavy lift,
Yeah.
let me tell you.
yeah.
I just think about how many gigabytes my family goes through just
I've done
streaming
these
stuff.
agreements before, and people love their shared drives.
Yeah.
A lot. So, are these personnel files or these
Yeah, it could be, and
Some, personnel file,
Yeah.
it should be just like a,
HIPAA files or?
yep, and you have a separate medical file, just like if you open up the drawer and legally, how I have to have everything separate in a separate file, it's gonna be the same way. I interviewed Flip at the IU, they've been using it for a couple of years now, and they've had no issues.
What do you think?
Any other questions? Any objections to this agreement? If not, it'll be on the consent agenda next week. Thank you. Next is just the bid review.
VidRecruiter, right. Now, VidRecruiter is a video interviewing service that VidRecruiter applies for us, that would provide the service for us. And what it does is basically our round one interviews. It's a benefit to the candidate, it's a benefit to us as the employer. One of the benefits for the employer is efficiency. For example, round one interview, you could probably interview up to 7, 8, 9 candidates, so you gotta take a whole day, 8 hours. Bring everybody out of their work area and bring them together. I call that hidden balance sheet costs, that you don't see the cost of what it costs for that salary to sit for 8 hours to do interviews. Here, we can streamline that by scheduling real easy. You bring the post down, you set up the interviews, they're done. They got a certain amount of time to provide their interviews. Now, each one will be individualized. It's not a one-size-fits-all interview. It depends on the position. So that way, efficiency for us, we can still do our jobs. Once the videos are done, then the committee views those interviews on their own time. So what would take 8 hours to do, they could probably go through all those videos in an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. Then we can move to round two. Also too is a wider range of candidates geographically. Not just, we could reach somebody who might be in Allentown that's interested in interviewing, that could go through a round one interview. Whereas just staying here in our own backyard, there's a wider variety for that. So that's increases your applicant pool. You can also get a more diverse pool, all right? And get a better qualified candidate for the job. Also too is the collaboration part will come. The administration people or who's ever on the interview team then can meet on a certain day, because they can view those whenever they want, and then have an hour now to review them together. Again, you're cutting down something that usually takes 8, 9, 10 hours to do, down to a few hours. All right, so that's cost. The benefit to the candidate, the flexibility, and this target audience that you're looking at now for teachers, this is what they like, this is what they do, this is what they're good at. And also too is it gives us the chance to see if they are. Can you set the video? Can you do file directions? Can you do the script? Can you answer the questions? So, and it's a faster interview process. The whole goal of this is the average time from posting to closing is about 36 days. We need to crunch that in order to be competitive, to get your people in the door and get the right people and most qualified people in the door. That's what this round one will do. Now, there's another step, but we just wanted to go with round one first, test the waters, and then there's other steps to this if we like this as we move forward. So and plus in the summertime, try and get everybody together. You can't. Doesn't work. Yeah.
And we've never used this before?
No, that shocked me. When I came there, it's like you don't use everybody does it.
So we didn't use anything where we're doing all those, we were interviewing like assistant
Paper
principals and stuff.
screeners and then brought them in.
It was all that, and then setting up cameras and doing all that fancy stuff, that all came from the district. Wow, okay.
That's why we hired this gentleman.
Well, based on the amount of work that went into that, just to try to get that to work and all the glitches that went into that, I could see the benefit of this, so I have no problem with it at all.
Anything that saves staff time. This is wow, that makes your job easier.
Yep.
So are there any concerns about this? If not, it'll be on the consent agenda also next week.
I want to show you something too. Look at new school, old school. Just so you know, for that documentation of scanning.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Dr. Mann.
Good evening, everyone. What you have in front of you is a proposal for the replacement of the technology, the computers at the district office and the service center. Many of the machines are quite old and they are falling apart, but this is money that's been budgeted. And so I'd like to go forward with this so we can get these items replaced.
You're working with pretty old devices.
Was that?
You're working with pretty old devices right now.
Well, not me. Mine's, fortunately, mine's
Oh,
up.
you're fine. It's the rest of them.
It's everyone else.
How did you qualify for that?
I know somebody.
Then I'll ask Dr. Coates, are you working with old equipment?
I am not.
Who is?
I've only been here 3 years though, so I got my new
Oh,
device when I came.
hands
Yeah.
going up out there, okay. Then it's about, it's about time we bring everybody up to speed. Any
Yep.
concerns about this contract? If not, it'll be on the consent agenda next week, too.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the next is a board issue. PSBA will have its delegate assembly. I'm not sure what they're covering. We are allowed, because of our population, we're a second-class city, 3 of them. I like to go and do it on, in person. Mrs. Tapka has suggested she'd like to be there in person, and Mrs. Trowbridge has suggested she would like to do this remotely. Is there anyone else who would like to be considered instead of one of us? If not, I do need a vote. We have to vote on who we assign before the board secretary can send our names in. So if I can have a motion to approve the identified delegates.
Motion to approve the 3 identified delegates for the PSBA Delegate Assembly.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions say nay. If not, that passes. There also is attached a resolution, and we don't spend many resolutions, but this was sent to me asking our school board if we would be willing to pass this particular resolution. I assume you've read it. You can agree to pass it, and it'll be sent on, or you can say you really don't want to do this sort of thing, and we will pass on it. Excuse me. What's the board's pleasure? Now, you must have an opinion on this, folks, either on the specific resolution, on the topic, or the idea of doing resolutions. We are not a very advocacy-focused board, usually. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be or we can't be.
We've all been complaining.
Excuse me?
We've all been complaining about the unfairness. We might as well do it.
May as well be official.
Mhm.
I see heads sort of bouncing yes, that, this is something you think maybe we should be a little more active on.
Do you want to put all of our names on it? Instead of just
Yes,
yours?
it
Well,
will be a
signature block for everybody.
board-passed resolution, and on things like this, I really like it to be,
Everyone's signature on it?
excuse me,
Everyone's signature on it?
I forget how it reads.
According to
But we-
this, it's just the school board president and secretary.
Yeah, but it verifies that we voted for it.
I understand. It kind of looks cool when everyone's signature's on it.
If you would like us to attach an affirmation, we can do that and pass it out next week. I can do that for you. Does that make you feel better when we?
Looks more official, like we mean what we say.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I like that too. Okay,
Okay.
then can we vote to approve this? With a, or would you rather wait and do it next week?
No, we can do it now. We can do it now.
Okay. I have a
Unless there's
motion
any
to-
objections?
to approve this resolution
No.
and an addendum.
I move that we approve this resolution and addendum.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or abstaining say nay. Okay. That takes us to the end of our, that part of the agenda. You do have next week's agenda tentatively listed. And we move on to, are there any people in the audience who would like to address the board on any issue at all?
I'm going back to the tentative agenda. I did ask Jill about the high school math textbook.
Yeah.
Since I don't remember hearing about that.
Do you know if we're going to be seeing those beforehand or if that's just a presentation?
Dr. Mann, you're gonna be presenting on the high school textbook next week, and you're asking for approval that same evening?
Ideally, yes, but
Well, if it's a specific textbook that you're asking us to approve, you have to allow us time to look at it.
Right.
So are copies of this available?
I have our copies here.
I mean, are they available now?
This moment, the second? No,
When will they be available?
they're in the high school. So,
Uh,
I mean, I have them on.
Could we have them brought here? Would we be willing to stop by and pick them up to give ourselves time to look at them between this week and next? Will that do?
Um, So,
Okay, would you please have them brought down tomorrow?
Yep.
We'd appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else on that one? I don't mind moving backwards on this. Okay, to board matters, I've added something that's not usually there because the vice president has, responsibilities. I've told Dr. Martin that she will have a place on the agenda to bring up whatever she wants from what she's doing or planning on.
Okay, so in the spirit of expanding teacher and staff recognition programs, which was one of our board goals for this past year, looking at the CV Award of Excellence and what that really is, what it should be, what the board feels like is most important about this particular award. So it is essentially supposed to be recognizing exemplary employee performance. The parameters that are there right now, or the criteria, I should say, are pretty subjective. So I think that looking at it again and deciding kind of maybe some more objective criteria to put into place, and like the whole nominating process and selection and all that, and what the award would actually be. So I'm just putting the bug in your ear. I don't know if this is anywhere electronically to
Not
forward.
electronically, when I found it in my own files, I don't know, I think Dr. Hartman also found it in his files, but electronically, it has been so long since we awarded it, you have to go to the minutes and find out, because that's red, that's as close as you would find. for it. So maybe we all need a copy of that.
Well, that said, I mean, it's not difficult to scan this in and make it a PDF. So I can do that and then send it out to everyone. And you can kind of take a look at it at your leisure and kind of maybe think about some of the criteria that you feel like would be important to include.
Some of that's a
Found a
little
whole file here,
specific.
Award of Excellence, so maybe I have what you want, I don't know what you're holding.
Can you just send me the file of whatever
I
you
have
have?
something named criteria,
Perfect.
I'll send
take
you what I
whatever you
have, I'll send you what I have.
Awesome, thank you.
Only other thing I have is the list of everyone we ever got.
Okay,
So I don't know if that's important anymore.
right, we're gonna change the criteria.
Yeah, and it's been a while, many of those teachers probably aren't even here with us anymore, they've retired. Okay, so we will get that, and when would you like that put on the agenda for discussion? Next week, next month?
Next month,
Okay,
that works. Does that work for everybody? Okay.
that would be June. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Board initiatives or announcements? I would just like to take a moment to thank our board secretary for all she had to go through today with juggling what went in and out. I'm sure it wasted most of her days trying to get this straightened out with board docs.
Board Docs is always a Monday. It's always a Monday
Is
that they
it?
have issues.
That's what
Either the
we have
server's
our meetings
down
on
or-
Monday, we probably don't
It's always a
realize it
Monday,
if it
yeah.
goes
They're
down.
doing something upgrades or, it's always, yeah.
Yeah, well, I did get a notice, I was on Saturday, and I got a notice that there was going to be an upgrade later that night. And that's the last I heard, after that it all
Didn't go well.
turned into mush. Okay, that being said, if there's nothing else left, I will take a motion to go to executive session for legal and personnel reasons.
So moved.
I was just gonna say that.
I accept the fact that it's become accepted.
I was gonna say, you've accepted that up to this point.
I know, because it wasn't worth the trouble until somebody brought it up.
You've just been very enabling. That's what that means.
Well, if you read any book on Robert's rules, they say it's not appropriate, but it's become common practice. I don't know how common practice we want to be.
Well, it's hard to repeat perfection.
Well, if you want to be really specific, the motion has to be said, and I'm supposed to repeat it.
I know.
And the way I repeat it is the way that counts, so that can become very confusing. We'll get along. We'll get along. Can I get a second on that?
Yeah, second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If not,